our broken students. That's the way that our society's been created, and we have to actively fight against it every day. So one of the things I do at Bolton as an interventionist is I teach social skills. And I'm new in this position, it's my second year doing this, and I still really struggle with that part of my job because when you go out there and look for social skills, it's a lot of like school appropriate behavior. But then I go back to that same thought in my head, that who is school made for? And what is school appropriate behavior? And what are we like shutting down in our students that could be a gift for bringing out instead? So I try to really take the social skills work I do with my students and make it more strengths-based than deficit-based. So we have a lot of conversations about like, what do you think you're good at? What do you bring to the table? And we talk about if they have a bad day or a bad moment or a tough time, how they can use their strengths to overcome that. And those have been a lot more powerful conversations and a lot more powerful relationships I've built with those students than to say, well, you talk too much, or you're too loud, or you can't sit still, or all those things that we label as a deficit without looking to, understand how we can use those things to be powerful in the classroom. And then also just the benefit of doing it as a book study with colleagues. We talk a lot about collective efficacy, and knowing I have colleagues that also value this work makes the work a lot more meaningful. Like, as white women, it's our job, we have to get uncomfortable and we have to start doing this work. And that can be it can make you say no. It can make you want to go, oh, I'm not ready to get uncomfortable, which is a privilege to have. But knowing you have colleagues to do that work with makes you ready to kind of step in and say, all right, I'm not the only one, and we all value this as importance. And then the conversations have been great because two of my team members, one of the grade levels I serve, two of my team members are on it, so then I know when we get into situations, we have some like-mindedness on how to handle them. Another interventionist I work with is in the book study, so when we meet as like a tier 2 team to talk about different interventions, I know her and I kind of are on the same wavelength. And it's really nice reconnecting with former colleagues of King, because I can reflect back on my time there and think about how I've grown or reflect on, like I said, instead of deficit thinking others, doing my own reflection about where I've come from so I don't make those mistakes again, or so I build off of decisions I've already made. I believe it is our responsibility as, like she said, 65% of our teaching world is white women. That does not reflect our student population. So we have to do the work to get uncomfortable and honestly stay uncomfortable. And I find myself in moments of, yep, this is working, I'm doing this, and then something else pops up, and I have to pause and really think about the best way to respond to something. And if you know me, I like to be someone who's quick on my feet and can come up with an idea really fast, and this work has made me take pause and really think about, are my actions rooted in this work? Are my actions rooted in what's best for my students? Am I choosing to stay comfortable and to enforce compliance, or am I ready to get uncomfortable and try a different approach that I know, based on the work I'm doing, is what's best for the students? And that's about all I have.
Thank you, Kelsey, for sharing today this journey. Next up is my wonderful supervisor and colleague, and
She's always under the right.
no. But one of the founding director of this and professor in charge of ISD Diplomas, the one who took this vision and has built it.
Breathe life into it, and
Yes.
now I get to sort of sit and rest my feet a little bit, and that's the beauty of working with Sherry. So this has been an exhilarating morning, and I know we're ready, even despite how exhilarating it's been, to move on and take this spirit with us, I think, out into the world. But I do want to take a moment to just, have us think about this in terms of a historical context and see it as the collective achievement. I mean, talk about collective efficacy, right? This is collective efficacy, moving even beyond, right, a school building, across a university, into 2 communities, right, multiple units, personalities, belief systems, right? But we're doing it together. It's amazing. And so this is my chance to just get us to really appreciate that as if we don't already. But if you can go to the next slide here, and I probably now sent Sherry slides that are out of order, because what I really want to do, Sherry, can you, I know you don't want to do this, can you fast forward, just keep going, there's an image. This is very much like me in the classroom, as Stephanie can say. I think I know what I want to do, and then when I'm in the moment, I'm like, I actually want to do it differently. Here we go. So this is an image from September of 2014. And we were 2 years at this point into the imagining, maybe not even collective imagining at this point, but imagining and of course building of the ISU For You Promise. And at this time, the woman in the center here, I don't know if any folks recognize her, this is Dr. Linda Darling Hammond from Stanford, who was one of the most renowned education scholars on educational inequity and urban ed and the preparation of teachers. She was the Hilton Chair for the College of Human Sciences. And at this time in the imagining and building of the ISU For You Promise, leadership allowed some time in her schedule for her to come and be part of an envisioning process. And this was at the future, the then future site of Children, Family, Urban Movement. And I just want to point out some people that are here today. So Janelle's here, you've got Dr. Connie Beecher's here, and some of these other folks that are not here are actually still here with us in the work. And I mean, hats off to these early adopters and that sort of got on the envisioning bandwagon early. But now I want to talk about evaluation, and I'm taking more time than I want to. I'll try to be quick. But a big insight from this meeting with principals and community members was, the big takeaway was sort of like, we need people to understand what this program is. And Iowa State kind of had just itself begun to understand what this program was going to be, right? But now we need everybody to understand, and not just that, we need people to trust it and want it. And that was the initial charge, was to just spread the message and get people on board. And these were, it was fun going through my emails. And it's my emails because I'm not good at organizing, I don't have folders. So I'm having to go back, and then I discovered things like this. I actually created notes, right, from this meeting that help us see what it was that we were identifying, right? So I want to be with you and have us look at this and see, we are doing some of these things, right? This is 6 years later, and we could either say, wow, that's taken a long time, or we could say, you know what, we're rocking it, actually, right? Our families, and this, we'll get a little bit into the evaluation, and I'll maybe cut short on that part, but families are understanding the ISU For You Promise. There are conversations about college going happening in those classrooms. Specifically the criteria of what it means to be eligible. The third one, we got to work on it, right? This idea of middle and high school communicating, right? Paul, you talked about that. Right, so this is one that's just going to be a little bit harder. So some things we're going to make happen, other things are just going to take a little bit more time. But this idea of thinking about how we can work with teachers towards professional development, this idea of the book study as an example of how we can be in these critical conversations across university and school sites. We have this idea of really understanding that King and Milton might mean different things. So this might be something too that we need to say, oh, let's push on this a little bit and think about where we can do some customization. We need to do some evaluation, and I'll just share some overviews about that. And real collaborative networks around enduring roles and distributed leadership. And that's what this is. So we're doing it, right? Okay, so now let's go back to these slides, and I'll do this just maybe really quickly, and maybe what I'll do is write up something that can go in the newsletter so that people sort of have it to refer to. But this is really great news that in the most recent year of evaluation that we saw significantly higher average levels of understanding about the ISU For You Promise students from King and Milton students. That's good news. Let's move to the next slide. And that 90% of parents and guardians that responded to our surveys indicated that they understood the district requirements, this idea of needing to stay in Des Moines Public School District in order to be eligible. There are still things that they say that they need more help with. We know this is another area of growth, right? But this is good, they understand this key piece that they gotta stay, right, to stay eligible. Teachers at both schools indicated increases in their own understanding and knowledge about important aspects of the ISU for You promise, and that teachers have consistently demonstrated gains in their understanding across our 3-year cycle. That's good news. We're helping bring people on board to distribute the leadership and the messaging of the program. And that teachers are largely positive about the interaction that they're having, and that they're seeing between students, families, and the ISU for You promise, and they're citing the college night as being, right, a really exemplary way of establishing these interconnections. And that teachers at both schools are indicating that they're doing more discussing of the ISU for You promise in their classes. And so this is an example of responses that we got about how the ISU for You promise is influencing teaching at the classroom level. This is good news. Right? And maybe next year what we say is we want to hear more about what teachers are doing. What does this look like? So that might be a nice way to think about what we do next year. Right? And the idea that it influences, if you go back just one slide, Sherry, the idea that it influences, right, how it influences their teaching. Yeah. And you heard from the ISU student volunteers, this is just this particular program, we have high levels of positive reaction to the student volunteer program, which is, right, amazing. And here's what we learned, we do ask you about the mini-conference feedback. You want more information from families. We had parents here today, okay? More personal accounts from students. We had more personal accounts shared today and more accounts from students actually at ISU that have been involved. You want more information about pre-service teacher experiences. You heard from Delana today and Jackie, her cooperating teacher. And you want more about ISU-wide involvement, and we're rocking the college matching partnership, and you saw some of that, more of that today. And you want less about administration, which I think is me. That's hard. And so there's one more slide here at the end. I started by my silly intro with Sherry, with my hat with the 5 and my horn. This is the 5th annual mini conference, and here's an image from the first mini conference. And I'm trying to see if anybody here. So Deb Sellers was here earlier, and right, these are folks that in one way or another have been involved in some point, right, of building what we're experiencing today. My idea for the mini conference was that it would be the mechanism where we would talk to each other about what we're doing, and so we could all stay on board as we were, right, developing this really complex and beautiful, like invoking, was it not Nathan? The guy talking about physics, the beauty. Liam, was Liam still here? No. Okay, right, this idea of this is its own beautiful thing that we're building together, and my idea for the mini conference with it would become an annual tradition of sharing one another's work and planning for the future, and that's what we're doing. So 23 people over the course of the whole morning were at the first mini conference, and many, came and then left. So really in the room was probably about this many at a time. Look how many of us are here. So we're really rocking it together. I think this is where we get just to say goodbye, good work. There's cake in the back. We're gonna have a raffle drawing for an awesome hoodie. And I think that's it for the 5th annual ISU for You promise meeting.
Anybody else need to put their little thing in? Anybody? Last time. We will draw 3. Here we go. Actually, here, why don't you come up and draw.
Drone, can we do like a drum roll?